There comes a moment in every person's life when they're faced with a choice. Not a simple one, not one wrapped in comfort or certainty, but a brutal, raw moment of truth when you realize you can no longer blame the world for the life you're living. That moment is the line between staying stuck and breaking free, between being a victim of your story and becoming the author of your next chapter. Too many people wake up each morning already defeated. Their first thoughts are, why me? Why is this happening to me? And those questions seem harmless at first, but they're poison. They're rooted in the belief that life is happening to them, not for them, that they're powerless in the face of their circumstances. But I'm here to tell you something, and it might be hard to hear. That mindset is a trap, and until you rip it out by the roots, you will relive the same problems on repeat year after year, dressed in different clothes. You were not put on this earth to be a victim. You were born with the ability to choose, and that is the most powerful force in the universe. You can't always choose what happens to you. You can't control the weather, the economy, the traffic, or the people who walk out of your life. But you can control how you respond, and when you take full ownership of your life, not just the wins, but the wounds, the failures, the bad decisions, that's when the shift begins. Because here's the truth. Creators don't wait. They don't point fingers. They don't say, if only things were different. They look at the mess, they roll up their sleeves, and they say, let's build something better. Let's turn this pain into power. They don't deny the pain. They use it. They alchemize it. They let it sharpen them, mold them, and teach them. We've all been knocked down. We've all been betrayed. We've all felt like we weren't enough. But those moments don't define you. Your response does. Your resilience does. Your decision to rise does. And let me tell you something else. When you stop playing the victim, people know what to do with you, because victims get sympathy. But creators, they earn respect. They walk into the room and own their presence, not because life handed them everything, but because they decided that they were going to make something out of nothing. This isn't about pretending life is easy. It's about refusing to let hardship become your identity. It's about standing in the fire and saying, this won't break me. It's going to build me. It's about waking up in the morning, looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I'm responsible for my life. And that's the best news I've ever heard. You have a choice. Right now, you can keep telling the same old story, the one where you're powerless, unlucky, stuck, or you can write a new one where you take the pin back, one where your past becomes your fuel, not your prison, one where you stop waiting for a savior and realize you are the one you've been waiting for. The shift from victim to creator isn't a step, it's a leap. It's terrifying, it's messy, and it's the most liberating decision you will ever make. Most people are living their lives in quiet fear, not of failure, not even of pain, but of lack. They walk around with this deep, unshakable feeling that there's just not enough. Not enough time, not enough money, not enough love, not enough recognition. They operate from this invisible but powerful belief that life is limited, that they must grip tightly to whatever crumbs they can get, because if they don't, it'll all disappear. And that belief, that mindset, it's the chain that keeps people small. Successity isn't about what's actually in your bank account or your fridge or your calendar. It's about what's running in your mind. It's a filter, a lens. And if you don't challenge it, it becomes your reality. You start making decisions from fear. You play not to lose instead of playing to win. You start settling in your relationships and your goals and how you show up every single day, because the underlying belief is that there's not enough to go around, that if someone else is winning, it means you're losing, that you're always just one step behind. But the truth is, scarcity is a lie. It's a conditioned story that gets passed down, passed around, and passed off as truth. And if you don't wake up and rewrite it, it will keep stealing your peace, your potential, and your power. Now let's talk about the opposite, not just abundance in your bank account, but abundance in your being. Because abundance starts before the money comes. Before the opportunity shows up, it starts inside. It's an internal shift that says, I don't have to grasp, I can generate. I don't have to compete, I can create. And I don't have to wait for permission. I already have what I need to begin. When you tap into abundance, you stop asking, what can I get? And you start asking, what can I give? That's the magic. That's the switch. Because when you give from a place of overflow, of passion, of energy, of vision, life has a way of giving it all back, multiplied. People think abundance is about stuff. It's not. It's about state. It's a way of being. It's how you walk into a room, how you speak to others, how you handle adversity. It's knowing that you are a source, not a sink. That you are here to build, not to beg. Look around you. Opportunity is everywhere. But you can only see it when you stop clinging to what you think you lack. You can only seize it when you believe you're worthy of it. And that's the hard part, because to truly live in abundance, you have to let go of the identity that's attached to struggle. You have to be willing to release the story that says success is for other people, that happiness is for later, that joy is for when the checklist is complete. That kind of thinking will kill your momentum before it even starts. So ask yourself, what would change if you believed the best was not behind you but ahead of you? What would open up if you trusted that there is more than enough? Time, love, energy, resources, creativity. And you were not designed to survive, you were built to thrive, to expand, to stretch into the fullness of your gifts. But you cannot step into expansion if your mind is still clinging to limitation. That is the leap. That is a rewiring. The world mirrors back what you believe is possible, not just with your words, but with your energy. So stop shrinking, stop grasping, stop rehearsing lack in your mind like it's the only script you've got. Stand up, breathe deeper, speak louder, think bigger, because abundance doesn't arrive when you have more. It arrives when you decide you already are more. There's a silent belief that runs through the minds of so many people, and it's this: I am who I am, and I can't really change. Maybe they don't say it out loud, but it's there. It shows up in how they avoid challenges, how they quit early, how they label themselves with words like not smart enough, not talented enough, not that kind of person. That's the fixed mindset. It's the invisible ceiling that keeps your feet on the ground when you were born to fly. It's the voice that says, this is just how life is for me. But that's not truth, that's conditioning. It's a belief built from past experiences, failures, criticisms, and fears that got cemented into identity. Somewhere along the way, people stop seeing mistakes as part of learning and start seeing them as evidence of who they are. They stop taking risks. They settle for good enough. And the worst part, they think that's being realistic. But it's not realism, it's resignation. The growth mindset is a radical act of rebellion against that resignation. It says, I am not fixed. I am fluid. I can evolve. I can stretch. I can expand beyond anything I've known. It's a mindset that embraces discomfort because it knows discomfort is where the edge lives, and the edge is where breakthroughs are born. Growth is messy. It's not linear. It's filled with failures, rejections, and detours, and that's exactly why so many avoid it. But if you keep trying to build a new life while staying inside the box of your current identity, nothing changes. You can't rewrite your story using the same language that wrote the last chapter. You've got to be willing to sound awkward, to look foolish, to not get it right the first time, because that's what growth looks like in real time. The leaders, the innovators, the artists, the athletes, the creators. You know what they all have in common? Not just talent, not just drive. They have this deep, unshakable belief that they can improve. They're addicted to growth. They're constantly asking, what can I learn from this? How can I use this? They don't avoid failure, they invite it. They don't fear criticism, they mine it for feedback. That's the difference, and it's a choice. Your brain is not hardwired for one level of intelligence or success or skill. It is plastic, it's moldable. Science backs this up. You can literally rewire your brain through repetition, through effort, through challenge. But the wiring won't change if your beliefs don't. If you still believe you're not a math person or not creative or too old to start, your brain listens. Your actions follow. Your life adapts to that script. But what if you flipped it? What if every time you caught yourself saying, I can't, you added yet to the end? What if every time you failed, you leaned in instead of pulling away? What if you saw obstacles not as roadblocks, but as invitations, opportunities to level up? This is not about pretending everything is easy. It's about understanding that everything is learnable. And when you start living from that space, everything changes. Your energy shifts. You stop comparing and start competing with the only person who really matters, the version of you from yesterday. You are not stuck. You are not finished. You are not defined by your past. You are in motion. You are in progress. You are in the process of becoming. And that process, that messy, beautiful, uncomfortable, exciting process, is exactly what growth looks like. So stop asking if you're ready. You'll never feel ready. Just decide you're willing to grow, willing to stretch, willing to become more. Because the moment you shift from fixed to growth, life stops happening to you and starts happening through you. Fear is one of the most powerful forces in the human experience. It's ancient, primal, and deeply wired into our survival. But in a world where most of us aren't running from predators anymore, fear has found a new job. It guards the boundaries of our comfort zones. It whispers in our ears every time we try to step up, speak out, or do something different. It's that voice that says, what if I fail? What will they think? And the tragedy isn't that people hear this voice. It's that they believe it. Fear doesn't show up when you're playing small. It doesn't care if you stay in the same pattern, surrounded by the same people, thinking the same thoughts, but the moment you even consider changing, the moment you start dreaming a little bigger, moving toward that version of you that scares and excites you at the same time, fear kicks in, and that's not a sign to stop. That's a sign you're heading in the right direction. Because here's the truth. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the thing while you're afraid. It's standing on the edge of everything comfortable and known and still taking that step forward. People wait their whole lives for fear to go away before they start living boldly. But fear doesn't leave. It evolves. It follows you like a shadow. And if you're not careful, it becomes your decision maker, your dream killer, your jailer. You have to make a different choice. You have to recognize fear for what it is, a signal, not a sentence. It's the gatekeeper to your growth. If it scares you and excites you at the same time, that's your soul saying this matters. That's your intuition pointing toward expansion. And if you don't listen, if you shrink back, if you wait for perfect timing, you don't just miss opportunities, you start forgetting what it feels like to be fully alive. Courageous action isn't about dramatic moments or heroic leaps. Sometimes it's just raising your hand when your heart's pounding. Sometimes it's telling the truth when it would be easier to stay quiet. Sometimes it's walking away from the familiar because your peace costs too much to stay. These moments don't always look big on the outside, but they're the ones that redefine you on the inside. And the beautiful part, every time you take action in spite of fear, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than it, that you're bigger than the voice that tried to hold you back. Confidence doesn't come first. It's built through repetition, through movement, through showing up scared and doing it anyway. That's how you stretch. That's how you grow. That's how you become someone who leads, not someone who hides. No one builds a life of meaning by staying comfortable. The people who inspire you, the ones who've created real impact, they didn't do it because they were fearless. They did it because they were committed. They chose growth over safety, purpose over perfection. They felt the fear and they moved anyway. So when fear shows up, and it will, don't run. Don't numb it. Don't make excuses. Get curious. Ask, what is this fear trying to protect me from? And then ask the better question, what is it keeping me from becoming? You were not made to live inside the walls of your fears. You were made to break through them. Action is the antidote. Movement is the medicine. Decide right now that fear may ride with you, but it will never drive again. There's a trap almost everyone falls into at some point, the pursuit of external validation. It starts subtly. Maybe it's the praise you got as a kid for being the smart one, the talented one, the obedient one. Maybe it's the applause you chased in school, at work, online. Over time, without realizing it, your sense of worth becomes attached to a scoreboard. It's never really yours. You start chasing the likes, the promotions, the compliments, the titles. Not because they fulfill you, but because they prove something. They tell the world and you that you're enough, or so you think. But here's the thing no one tells you. External validation is addictive and empty at the same time. You get the hit, the praise, the approval, the recognition, and for a moment you feel high, but it fades quickly, and then you're left needing more and more and more. It becomes a cycle. What should be a celebration turns into a craving, and worst of all, You start tailoring your actions, your dreams, even your personality to please other people, to maintain the image, to be what they want you to be, not who you truly are. That's not freedom. That's a cage, one with gold bars maybe, but a cage nonetheless. Real growth begins when you stop living to impress and start living in alignment. When you stop performing and start expressing. When you wake up and realize that no amount of claps from the outside world will ever make up for the silence you feel inside. That's when the shift begins. That's when you start moving from external validation to inner fulfillment. Inner fulfillment is a different game. It's quiet, it's steady, it's not flashy, but it's powerful. It's knowing that you're living according to your values, not someone else's. It's waking up proud of who you are becoming, even if nobody else sees it. It's doing the work, putting in the reps, saying the hard truths, but because it brings you peace. You stop needing permission. You stop begging for likes. You stop chasing applause, and instead you start building something real. You start choosing the path that feeds your soul, not your ego. You start surrounding yourself with people who see your heart, not just your highlight reel. That doesn't mean you stop caring altogether. It means you start caring differently. You care about impact, not impressions. Purpose, not popularity. Connection, not clout. You stop asking, what will they think? And you start asking, what do I know to be true? And the irony, when you live from that place, that grounded, authentic, deeply aligned place, people notice. The right people. The ones who resonate with who you are, not who you pretend to be. And that's the kind of connection that actually lasts, that actually feeds you. You have a voice, a vision, a calling, and it wasn't given to you to fulfill, to bring to life, to live out in the rawest, most real version of yourself. That's where fulfillment lives, in truth, in alignment, in knowing you are no longer chasing a moving target of other people's approval, because you've already approved of yourself. When you finally stop looking outward for validation, you realize the only person who ever really needed to believe in you is you. And once you do, that's the moment everything changes. That's the moment you become unstoppable. We live in a world that glorifies the grind. Hustle has become a badge of honor, a symbol of worth. The longer the hours, the heavier the load, the more exhausted you are, the more it seems like you're doing something right. People wear burnout like it's proof of ambition, as if running on empty somehow means you're full of purpose. But deep down, most people know something's off. They're checking every box, climbing every ladder, achieving the goals, and still feeling disconnected, numb, unfulfilled. That's because hustle without alignment is just motion without meaning. There's a difference between being busy and being in purpose, between chasing and creating, between proving and expressing. Hustle says keep going. Alignment asks, but is this who you really are? Hustle says you'll be happy when. Alignment says you can be in peace now. And that shift from hustle to alignment changes everything, because it's not about doing less. It's about doing what matters more. See, hustle comes from the energy of scarcity. It's fueled by fear. Fear of falling behind, of being forgotten, of not measuring up. It says, if I don't grind constantly, someone else will take my place. So you chase and run and overcommit, thinking the finish line will finally give you a rest. But the finish line just keeps moving, and the faster you run, the more disconnected you feel from why you started. The limit lower light doesn't read your effort. It just demands intention. It's not about slowing down, it's about waking up. About realizing that when your energy is aligned with your values, your purpose, your truth, you get more done, not less. You become magnetic, clear, unshakable. You stop trying to force outcomes and start allowing the right ones to flow through you. When you're in alignment, your work becomes an extension of who you are, not a mask to impress others. Your days are still full, but they're not frantic. You're driven, but not desperate. You're focused, but not frantic, because your fuel isn't fear anymore. It's fire, it's presence, it's clarity. And when you're operating from that space, you no longer need to prove anything. You just become it. And the truth is, alignment takes more courage than hustle ever did. It asks you to slow down and ask the hard questions. Is this path still mine? Do I even want what I'm chasing? Am I building a life that looks good or one that feels right? Those are not comfortable questions. They will shake your identity. They will force you to let go of old definitions of success. But they will also lead you to something deeper, something real, something that fills you instead of drains you. Because when your actions reflect your truth, you no longer need to escape your life. You don't need to numb out or check out or run yourself into the ground to feel worthy. You are worthy right now, not when you hit the next goal, not when you prove yourself to the world, but when you finally decide that your peace, your purpose, your presence, they matter more than your pace. So yes, show up. Yes, give your all. Yes, be bold and driven and unstoppable, but do it from alignment, not exhaustion. Let your work be an act of devotion, not desperation. Let your ambition be rooted in authenticity, not anxiety. You weren't born to burn out, you were born to light up, and that only happens when you stop hustling for approval and start living from alignment. That's when life stops being a grind and starts becoming a flow.